everybody, welcome to Old Fashioned Catholics. I'm Nick.
I'm Kevin.
And we are Old Fashioned Catholics. We are Catholics who like to drink old fashions.
And other cocktails too.
Oh, and cocktails too. We know we don't put ourselves in a box. It's all right. Some of us drink from coffee mugs, apparently. Anyway, so we are just two married guys, friends. We have kids, and we like to get together and talk. And we do so after 11 p.m. because that's when most people who are in their vocation get free time to do anything. So we film late, and we've also found that people, our show is best enjoyed while sipping a drink. So if you would like to pause, you can see what we're drinking tonight, and then you can sip along with us. So pause. And we're back. So tonight I'm having what I guess that they call it Wisconsin Old Fashioned, and it uses brandy, which I didn't know was a Wisconsin thing. So this is E&J Blue Label. It's not acid.
If you're just getting into cocktails, your first brandy you should buy is that exact one.
Yep, because it's actually really smooth. And it's weird because I've bought the one label up and I didn't like it, and I bought the one label down and I didn't like it. So this is what I have. And then I just did a dash of cherry juice because it's sweet. I didn't do any simple syrup because of that. And then one dash of bitters and an ice cube. What are you drinking, Kevin?
I love it. I love how you can just customize a cocktail. I went so far customized. I didn't even look up a recipe. I made this up. It doesn't have a name yet. Maybe someone can help me with the name. It has bourbon. It has butterscotch schnapps. And it has half and half. So, butterscotch bourbon sounds too cliche, but it is shaken, not stirred. So you get the creamy, foamy top. It is a perfect nightcap. It's like a White Russian, but with bourbon and butterscotch instead of vodka and whatever that is.
Yeah, the other thing.
The other thing in a White Russian. And before you introduce our guest, should we have our guest talk about what he's drinking?
Yeah, sir, before you say your name, what are you drinking tonight?
So tonight I am also drinking an old fashioned. This is made with, Jefferson tonight is my bourbon of choice for the season.
Oh, beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And the cherries and the simple syrup that I'm using actually is a little bit of a cheat. I got it at the St. Augustine Distillery. They make their own stuff so that I can speed things along if there's an urgency to getting this cocktail made, which always helps out when we're busy. I do it out of a coffee mug so the kids don't ask as many questions.
Yeah.
And so I can, have this thing around and the questions seem to be less. And so the coffee mug, hence the coffee mug. And actually it's my daughter's coffee mug, favorite coffee mug you can see there. It's got the Kahlua label, which is an old style liqueur, which, is something that I've had in the past.
Hey, that's the other ingredient in the White Russian.
It is exactly what it is. How ironic. So there you have it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
Okay, so our guest tonight, he lives near. I met him in Orlando, Florida. He is the, president or whatever of a local chapter of Legatus. What do you call it?
Yeah, president of the local chapter, the Orlando chapter of Legatus, currently, because he's on his way out. They're always gunning for him. He has 17 kids, and that is basically all you need to know about him. Welcome to the show, Troy King. Thank you for having me, Nick. I appreciate it. Kevin, thanks for having me on and getting all the logistics dialed in with this awesome video and audio that you got set up. I see you guys have used your quarantine time to hone some special skills here.
Well, it has
Nick, I was just gonna say, Nick has jerry-rigged a microphone with an iPhone and headphones. He's a MacGyver of technology. He figures things out that other people can't. I'm always impressed.
You can't see the duct tape, but there's so much duct tape.
He has figured out a way to convince my kids that he actually knows Father Mike Schmidt. That's a different story.
That's just that's a running jerk. It's not even a joke. It's you guys, your kids are jerks. I don't like any of them. That's what it is. I'll randomly get texts from them just mocking. But so I asked Father Mike, could you send a video convincing these people that we know each other? And he sent kind of the opposite, right? Do you know what he sent?
Yeah, restraining order videos. I guess I know Nick Davidson because of the restraining order.
Yeah, he disavowed me in no uncertain terms, so that was nice.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Okay, so first of all, the first question we always ask is, what are you drinking? And you already answered that one, so we'll have that up on the screen. And the second one is, because this is meant to be kind of people relaxed at the end of the day with a drink in their hand after they've had a long day. Truthfully, honestly, how was your day?
I had a good day. It started early, got up early, probably about 5 o'clock, folded a few loads of clothes and got some dinner pre-prepared. My wife does all the homework. I do all the cooking. So there's that part that starts early when you're meal planning and all that good stuff. But it went smoothly and nothing interrupted that this morning. So then about 6, started getting the kids up. Got some of them off to school. I drive 7 of them to school. Some of them stay home for school. We homeschool for middle school. 7 of them go to the Catholic school K through 5. And then the 4 high schoolers go off themselves, drive and all that, and do it Franciscan.
There are so many questions in there. There are so many questions.
7 kids.
So we're about 6. We're about 6:45 right now. That's that.
Okay, so
AM,
pause at 6:45
that brought us
a.m.
to 6:45 a.m.
What grades are your kids in?
Yeah, so I have twins that are in kindergarten, and then we have 2nd, 3rd, 4th. We have 3 5th graders. We have 6th, 8th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So we have 8 years. We didn't have any graduates last year from high school, but now we have 8 years in a row where we have a high school graduate coming.
Oh, gosh, that's awesome.
And then 2 in college. So
where are they going to college?
Both of them are at Franciscan right now. So
okay, all right.
Yeah, cool. So excited. They've got some cool weather, and we're down here swimming and going to the beach, and they're already in their cold weather gear.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Now, there's something I want to pick out of there, out of all the many things. I've heard other people talking about intentionally homeschooling their kids for middle school, and I noticed you mentioned that explicitly. Yeah. Tell us about that. I'm very curious.
That was my wife's doing, and she came up with the idea after our first child went through middle school at our local Catholic elementary school, which is a good K-8 school, a great school. We love it. Our kids still go there. But after her 6th, 7th, and 8th grade experience there, it was more of a question of, could we give her more at home as far as our faith and being, called to be their first catechist and their first teachers. We thought probably so. We could probably do a better job of that than anybody. And secondly, what could we avoid her getting? And so it's kind of a addition and subtraction. And it felt like a great time to do it because before middle school, they seemed to us to be it's very easy for them to state their case on who they are. K-5 is they just know who they are. They're born with it. They know that you're not supposed to kill babies. They know that you're, supposed to be nice to people. But once 6th, 7th, and 8th comes, there's some confusion that sets in. And there's some people that are happy to take them along a different path. So we figure if we could get them home for those 3 years and really, really brainwash them, train them really well, we could prepare them for high school and what they're going to face then. And so that's worked out wonderfully. And now we're on, right now, our 6th graders homeschool. And she's number 9. So we've done it with all the other 8 between them so far. And it's worked out beautifully. Some of them don't like it as much as others. Some of them want to keep doing it. Others would rather not do it at all. But for the most part, I think they would tell you they've enjoyed it.
Along the way, have there been any of them that you could discern like, you know what? I think it would be best if they were just, even in middle school, if they were in, or has it been pretty consistent?
Yeah, no, we had one that we knew there were things in middle school that she actually needed academic wise and stuff like that. So she could access it better. So pretty flexible. We've also had some that have said, oh gosh, please homeschool me. And we've started them in 5th because they've seemed ready and willing and able. And so we've done that too. So we maintain a wonderful relationship with the school, and they've invited us to take them and leave them as we please. And so they've allowed us to come and go and ebb and flow how we like. And so it's a good business move on their part. But has there been a few that they've been like, take them? Yeah. Keep them. Quarantine them.
We've discerned it's best.
They're so wonderful that they haven't said it out loud, but we know they feel it. And we remind them that we're okay with that.
That's awesome. Okay, before we're at 6. Oh, Kevin, did you have something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, and just a disclaimer, you saying that you and your wife can do it better is not in the negative, it's in the positive. It's that Catholic social teaching principle of subsidiarity, that the smallest entity possible should do the job, should do the work. And so, obviously you two are very pro Catholic schools and supporting your Catholic school and live in it. So I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you making that point, because it is a partnership that we've embraced, and so has our Catholic school. And without wonderful administrators and things that have been put in our way, we wouldn't have been able to have enough clarity to make those decisions and have enough support to do it. And so we may have been thrust in, without the support of them, may have been thrust into doing something we weren't comfortable with, like homeschooling a kindergartner and having to teach someone how to count money or read a clock. I mean, no way. And they've done a wonderful job with the sacramental preparation that we've partnered with them in. And as a matter of fact, our pastor's just been taken up to be Bishop of Savannah, Georgia. So we've had a wonderful and still maintain a wonderful relationship with our school, and are very supportive, not only spiritually, but financially and all that stuff. So
and when you say brainwashing, I mean I believe that's 100% true. That you two probably are just brainwashing your kids, and there are many people who are going to think you are the strangest person on earth if they stumble across this video.
Yeah, and it's okay, because that's all right. I've got plenty of instances where I've seen strange behavior in the Bible and said, "Hey, that looks pretty good. I think I'll do that."
Right. Amen.
I want to comment on the fact that, like, as I tried to homeschool for a little while, and I'm nowhere. I mean, I've met you a couple of times. My patience level is nowhere near you or your wife. Mm-hmm. And I remember the day I was trying to teach Christian, like T and H is, and we both wanted to die. He wanted to die. He wanted me dead. I wanted to be anywhere. Like, I hated it. And I remember thinking, like, this is the worst thing. I can't think of a worse thing besides looking somebody in the eye and be like, T and H is, so yeah. Any grade teaching, but for me, it's any grade teaching homeschool is bad. But it's cool that you guys can discern that you've had that flexibility. So you're at 6:45 a.m.
I'm just going to copy you. I'm just going to, whatever you do in life from now on, I'm just going to try and copy.
That's a good idea with this, because this is a good little drink.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Right 6:45. So that's the time when usually I dash off to the shower and tell them they better be ready to get in the car in 10 minutes. And so then about 7, if we're going to go to Mass, we got to leave by 6:30. And at the beginning of the school year, there's always a very enthusiastic attention being paid to daily Mass. And so we'll get to school or to Mass at 7. So we'll leave at 6:30, get there at 7, Mass at 7:30, and then drop off for schools at 7:30. School starts at 8. But that kind of waxes and wanes as the year gets going. And so now if I leave at 7, I'll drop them off at 7:30. And so they're dropped off at 7:30. Now that's changed during COVID, because usually what I would do is Christy would drive and I would have a teenager drive me to their high school, and then I would allow them to learn how to drive that way. And then I would take the car on to work, and they would ride home with a sibling. But now this has kind of shifted in the past several months to me driving, because work's a little bit slower during the pandemic. And so I'll drive them to school, and then I take off for work, get to work about 8. Had a great work day today. So you asked how my day was. That's where we're going with this. Had a great work day. My staff is fantastic. We're blessed that the office is still running and smooth since we've reopened. The pandemic closing affected us till May 7th, and we've been going continuously since May 7th.
Okay, pause. For everybody there, let them know at home what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a pediatric dentist, and so I have a private practice in Oviedo, Florida, which is a small suburb. So I practice exclusively pediatric dentistry and have been continuously for 23 years. So yeah, blessed to be able to do what I love.
If you happen to be watching this and you're in his area, you must send your children there. So I flew in to speak there, and I just came to his work, and I had never met Troy before. And I pulled up in the rental car, and I just walk into the outside of the building. Looks like it's in just a business park, just like a little building with numbers. And So I walked in, and your lobby of this, I wish I was a kid again. I kind of wish I had more time. I could have climbed, because like their office lobby is like the bow of a ship, basically. It's got, I mean, it's not just like, oh, look, there's like a wooden anchor. Like the kids can crawl on the bow of a ship. So I don't know, explain, because I didn't get to ask you that day, like what brought that on? That's thinking amazing.
Yeah, so that was just meant to be like a hook. You know, Christy and I sat down when we were designing that office and said, you know, we really want to make this a place where kids know it's for them. You know, because often you walk in, you see parents walk in with their kids into a dental office. Shh, don't touch anything. Stop. Put your hands down. Yeah. And it's like, you know, I try to explain to parents, the pediatric dentist is like recess. You know, the adult dentist is like the library. So you can touch here and you can be loud and you can do what you got to do, because they're kids. They're going to do that. And if you bottle them up there and do that for 20 minutes and make them sit still and hold still, when they get into the chair with me, then they're going to have all this pent up energy. So our thought is get them in the office, get them running around, get them playing. So the bow of the ship is on one side of the office, and it has like a 60-inch screen inside, and they can go in the ship, watch movies. The bow's up there. There's like stadium seating in there. And then if they come out of the ship, they pass the front desk, which is themed as a dock. And then past the dock there's a video game room that's like a bait shack, and you go in it and there's Xboxes set up everywhere around the inside of that. So it's, you know, the kids, they come in and they look both ways, and they run one way, the other sibling runs the other way. And, you know, when it's their appointment time, if we're on time, the kids are very upset. They're like, oh, we got here early so they can play. And you guys have gotten us back early, and they're not happy about that. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that.
Because it brings me back. So when I was 5 years old, so I was always scared to go to the dentist. I was always scared to be away from my mom. And I went to the dentist, and he didn't let my mom come in. And I was 5 and throwing a bit of a fit. And my Dr. McDonald, my dentist at 5 years old, just full on slapped me across the face. He told me to shut up. And my mom happened to walk in. Was he a nun
at some point?
No, but it made me scared of Ronald McDonald forever. I was, because they had the same name.
Was he dressed like Ronald McDonald though?
No, it was just.
He didn't wear the face paint.
That would be the most terrifying thing. You're on nitrous and there's this clown over you. Right. And he's
We're writing a horror movie right now where you have the beginning.
It's It 3, probably. But anyway, that's the first.
My mentor in Louisiana was the only pediatric dentist in Baton Rouge when I was in college who allowed the parents to come back. And so he welcomed them into the treatment area because of things like that. You hear about it. Yeah. He was like, you know, I just don't operate that way. So when I moved to Orlando in 1997 and opened my practice, we were met with tremendous success immediately because I brought that same mentality to Orlando and was the first one here to allow parents to come back. And that really helped us to grow the practice quickly and allowed us to build a rapport with parents very soon.
How about that?
My thought is I wanted to show them, number one, that we have a great, clean facility. We care about your kids. We're not dropping stuff on the floor and picking it up. We're doing the right thing. Number two, we've got an incredibly competent staff who loves your kids. And number three, we wanted to show them, hey, your kid is very difficult at times to manage, and we're happy to do it, but we like you to appreciate what we're doing. And if they can see it, they're like, wow, this is just crazy. And then they go talk about you and they tell their friends. Whereas if they're in the waiting room, they're wondering, they're thinking the worst. They're kind of not too sure what to think.
They can hear their kid screaming from
right. Or even if it's not their kid, they hear a scream, and of course you think it's your kid. And so that's scary as a parent. So we really
one thing you could start doing, the dentist that we moved to after that, this is all in Duluth, Minnesota, where Kevin is. But so Dr. McDonald, he's not anymore. I don't know if he has passed on, but he's not a dentist. But Dr. Sieverts, when you would walk in, you would hear him screaming in the back. And it's because when he knew something would hurt you, he would scream for you. And so if he was about to like put the Novocaine or anything in, he'd be like, okay, I know this is going to hurt, so I'm going to take it. And he'd be like, ah! And he would scream for you. And so you could hear a grown man out in the lobby. You could hear him just screaming. And that was, I guess, similar, not as cool as the bow of a ship, but that's what he
I might steal it though. It sounds pretty cool.
I'm amazed by it because how many places do parents have to drag our kids that is not for kids where they can't just be kids? So
Right.
this is just a place where it's for them. It's built for them, and you don't have to take them to the park or to a specific, like, go pay a bunch of money to take your kids to a kid's indoor playground. It's like, this is just part of the thing that they have to do. I love that whole idea. It hits on so many levels.
Yeah, thanks. It's developing it over the years has been a joy, and it's one of the coolest things about doing it. And any discussion of faith always leads me to this: is the opportunity to see these kids and find out where they are and what their problems are as far as teeth goes. But not only teeth, it's anxiety. There's a whole person connected to that tooth, and to be able to try to sift through that and have some actual real love for these kids allows me the freedom to observe God's work, so I can see him work through my hands. Often I'll pause and recognize it. Just as often I pause and ask for help or guidance to help me through a sticky situation or what have you. But truly a remarkable gift to say, look, God, I'm going in this room. I hear the screams already. I'm not even in there. Do with me what you will, and I'm here to serve. And if it's your will, then we'll get it done. And I'll walk out and I'll be like, what just happened? How did that happen? And my staff's like, I didn't think there was any way you'd be able to do that. I was like, well, I take the opportunity to let them know that it really wasn't me. It was kind of almost puppet-like.
Yeah.
Anyhow, cool stuff.
That's beautiful, man. Okay, so we're still on the first question. So you got through your day at the office. And
work was great. Staff is stressed out because Halloween is a big deal at our office. We do a candy buyback party every year, and it's ginormous. So we'll pay you $1 a pound for your candy because we're trying to get it off the streets, right? Kind of like the weapons from the police. Yeah. They'll pay you for the money.
Got to get that crack off the street.
That's right.
Especially in Florida, man.
And we pay cold, hard cash. We have a scale when you walk in, and we pay them in bucks. We pay them in dollars. Here you go. And then – but just to do that, if we're going to be taking something, we feel like we should give something. So we have, instead of dentistry happening, we have games and we have food and we have, things. And so now the staff's all like, this is always such a huge deal. And it's usually about a week after Halloween. We let them have a little bit of their candy. And then what's left over a week later. And I'm telling you, they line up. We have the first year we did it about 6 or 7 years ago. My staff said, well, what do we put all the candy in that we get? I said, well, look, I need a new garbage can for home anyway. So I'll get one from Home Depot and just bring it up here. And she called me about 10 minutes in. She said, this is full. What do I do now? I said, go dump it in my office and then bring it back out to the waiting room. So you've been in my office, Nick. You've seen it. It's pretty big space. So she dumped it 5 times on the floor. It looked like I went in and did a picture of me doing a snow angel in the candy.
Oh, man.
And so then we donate it to the troops overseas. There's an operation here in the U.S. that'll package it, mail it, and do all that stuff. And we send toothbrushes with it. Obviously, we don't want to send our troops candy and cause a big burden on the taxpayers to fix their teeth. So we send them toothbrushes and things like that. And it's amazing. We get letters back from these guys saying how great it is that they get, labels and things like that from home. So that's a cool thing.
Man,
I'm stressed out about it now because of COVID. So it's like, what do we do? What do we not do? So they came down on the side of having a parade. So she's like, yeah, we'll just get a couple of our cars, dress up in some costumes, and drive through the neighborhoods and throw candy out. And so this is my staff member. It's a little sleepy little town. Well, she comes in about a week later to my office and almost in tears. And I said, what's wrong? She says, well, the police department called me. They want to know our route. They've heard there's going to be a giant parade in town. And I was like, oh my gosh. So now all of a sudden it's escalated to this thing that she doesn't think she's going to be able to live up to the expectations of what these people are wanting, expecting. I'm anxious to see if it's going to be, kids lined up on the streets because their parents aren't going to let them trick or treat, but they will let us throw candy at them because they trust us or whatever. So that was the issue of the day today. So we're managing that, and they're they've got costumes for Star Wars and things like that, and so that's going off. But we need to navigate that.
We got to check in with you in a month on that.
Yeah,
we need to see how that went.
Get a little video of it. Yeah, but besides the normal stuff, one staff member who had been kind of on a temporary furlough, decided to go for good, and just little stuff, but it worked out. It was okay. And then, came home and I got to cook with my 17-year-old. So she's an awesome girl, and I think she might have a vocation to a religious life. And so it's a cool thing. And so when I get to spend time with her, it's always good. But I told the kids yesterday I was cooking pork tenderloin, and they said, "Oh, wow, I hope Sarah is going to help you because her pork tenderloin is fantastic."
That's awesome.
All right.
Her make it. They're like, "Yeah, but she does something." And so her and I cooked the pork tenderloin and things like that tonight. So that was a good time. And then I got home, did that, ate with everybody. By about 7 p.m. we were eating dinner. And
hold on.
Yeah. What?
So a pork tenderloin is about like this. Yeah. So how many pork tenderloins? Okay.
Yeah.
4.
All
right. All right.
4, and what we found is our formula for the base part of our meals, if it's meat or fish or whatever, is usually about 4 to 6 pounds, depending on what it is.
Okay.
If it's something they don't love, it's 4 pounds. If it's something they love, it's 8 pounds.
So you just use that multiplier and you're in good shape.
Yeah, and I got a huge brand new Instapot the other day. My mother-in-law's been on me to get that for years. And
how big do they make them?
This one's 10, like I cooked 4 pounds of red beans.
What is an Instapot?
Bag. It's like a crock pot / pressure cooker. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm a big slow cooker guy because when you get home and there's a bunch of hungry people, having something in a big old pot that you can scoop out is really a good thing. So yeah. The pork tenderloin, it was spot on.
So I guess before we move forward then into the rest of the evening, I have it on good authority that you in some way used to be like a co-partner in a bakery in Mexico.
That's pretty wild, isn't it?
Is this okay? I want to know just about that, especially being a dentist. How dare you?
I'll go on to that. Let me finish the last thing. Is
okay.
My 2 high schoolers have 2 of my boys, my junior and my sophomore, have never played organized football in their life, and this year decided that they want to play tackle football. My wife's always been against it. I've always not cared. And so this year somehow they wore her down and she let them play. So they've been playing football, and they had their first home game. They're undefeated. They're 3-0, and they had their first home game tomorrow night, and they got their whole team got quarantined today. No. So their season's over. So that was another part of the day that, it's just one of those parts where you got to go home and be supportive. And
wait, that's it then, right? They're out?
They're done. It's just done. I don't think it's going to go back. So they had a 3-game season. They've been working out with weights since June, and got to play 3 games, but they love
undefeated though. Perfect season.
Undefeated. That's what I said. It's good stuff.
Perfect season.
Kind of like my LSU Tigers last year, but that's a different story. So Mexican bakeries, from dentistry to bakeries. Yeah. So there's a friend of ours, great lifetime friend of ours, who actually just spent a couple of days with us for my wife's 50th birthday. So they flew in from Baton Rouge. Anyhow, he owned a totally different business in the petrochemical industry than dentistry, but we always admired one another's businesses, and said, wow, how cool would it be to do something together? And so there was the opportunity that we got, along with one of the partner, to start basically it was a food distribution business, small in the U.S. here. And our largest customer was a bakery chain in Mexico. So we were basically wholesaling baked dry, ingredients to bakeries, and in a small way, but we had one big account in Mexico. And so the more we worked with them, the more we realized, wow, these guys have a really good business. They're selling a lot of cakes. And so, boy, we'd love to be a part of that. They had a couple of 100 franchises. And so this was it's a pretty big operation that they had.
So it wasn't like a bakery. It was,
So these guys, they started this bakery, these brothers in Mexico, started this bakery. Their mother baked cakes that they thought were amazing, and they started a bakery. And they looked up and they had a couple 100 locations. And so they were looking for ways to grow. And capital was a very hard thing to get in Mexico 10 years ago. It was 10 or 15% interest and things like that. Oof. So we started partnering with them to build stores separately from franchising. We didn't want to do a franchise deal. We just wanted to be partners with them. And so they owned some stores independently themselves. They had a couple hundred franchise locations. And then together with us in a 50-50 partnership, we built 75 little locations of this bakery all over Mexico over a course of about 5 or 6 years. So working on the business acumen of our friends, they said, look, let's just, whatever this, we seeded 20 stores and then let the profits build the next 50 stores and let that roll. And so that happened. And we stayed in the business for probably 6 or 7 years. Christy, my wife, was working as the CFO in that business, and she started really, really wanting to get out. She felt like the difficulty of working internationally with Mexico was tough. Yeah. And so from an accounting standpoint, she thought it'd be best interest if we could sell. And so we started trying to acquire a buyer several years ago, and one fell through. And then lo and behold, late last year, got a buyer who wanted to buy our entire operation out, the distribution, food stuff and everything. And he did. And we closed on that deal at the end of February, 2020. And then 2 weeks,
so that's recent.
And then 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, COVID hit. And it was like, that was good timing. The deal went through, and there was a little bit left on the table for what needed to be paid, and we didn't know if it would be or not. And they just kept chugging along and paid everything up, and so it was a great in and great out. And so that's interesting. Never actually visited the bakeries in Mexico. We visited.
I was going to ask.
Visited them via live stream, because we had cameras in all the stores and all that stuff, but never got to go down as much as I thought I'd be able to. But the partners went. So. Have
you guys done any mission work ever as a family? Not
No, I haven't. I've been asked to do mission works because of the dentistry thing, and Christy is always there to say, yeah, that's great. He goes down for a mission, but who's going to help me with my mission, which is at home, very difficult without two adults. And usually a lot of help with friends. And so we kind of look at it as our little mission right here. And to steal from another podcast that a friend of ours is doing, we kind of look at this as our Calcutta. And nice. For all those of you in podcast land, go listen to our Calcutta. It's done locally here in Orlando from two very close friends of ours. And, so that's
can we put a link?
Mission. Yeah, our Calcutta.
Our Calcutta.
Perfect. Yeah, and so I look forward to doing that, though, because I have visited Chalco, Mexico, with a Legatus group. We did Our Lady Guadalupe, and then went to a girls' home down there in Chalco, which is a beautiful place where an order of about 40 nuns run a girls' home of about 6,000, I think, girls, if I'm not mistaken. That's 9th through 12th education, and forms them in a very good Catholic environment. And they, I know, have shown a need. And dentistry and faith outreach and all that stuff. We actually tried to spearhead helping get a bakery on their site, and things like that. They ended up ultimately getting it. But it's just, I look forward to that part of my life. I don't know when it'll be, when that season will be. But we find our little missions here. We have a lot of people in our community that come to us with need that we feel openly and freely about helping through our priests or through our other parents and teachers. We have a lot of contact with teachers who have been, kids who have been patients, that we just say, look, if you ever get a kid, these teachers have so many issues that if they see a kid with a toothache, the last thing they need is that burden of, how do I approach this mom? Maybe she can't afford care or whatever. I say, look, just call us, just make a phone call and make it happen. And so lots of opportunities for that here locally. But I'm interested in the next phase of having it go beyond the borders.
Well, because I can't remember specifically if I talked to you about it then, so my wife and I, we do, that's our end goal. Like that's the only goal for us, is just, we're just biding our time, jumping through hoops. But we have one other friend who's a dentist in Evansville, and our goal is to somewhere down the road. And again, it's down the road, but to have some form of mobile medical clinic where, she's a doctor, we have a couple of nurses, a dentist, and then I handle the evangelism side and just kind of travel around whatever country it happens to be and just do what we can. We've looked into the mobile medical clinic stuff. Kevin, actually, when we lived on the island of Caribbean, of Dominica, where we adopted our kids, Kevin came down for one trip, right, Kev?
Mm-hmm.
was one. Yeah, he came down with like 20 kids and did a mission down there. So we've done little bits, but yeah, somewhere down the road we'll be. I'll be calling you and just.
He's gonna be tapping.
I will be there.
I'll just be talking to your wife and being like, all right, just, I'll send the kids.
Send him. Kids. She'll tell me the day before. Oh, by the way, you're going to, Guadalupe,
Cambodia.
I got a ticket for you. You're going. Just don't argue with me.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so you have. I said at the beginning you have 17 kids.
Yeah, 19. The number's 19. You got to get this right.
19, I'm sorry. I get it wrong. 19 kids. Some of them adopted, some of them not.
Yeah.
Now we obviously wouldn't have the time in one. We'll have you on again if you will. But I would say, what would be, I guess, some of the outstanding aspects of that? Not just the adoption parts, but the biological as well. Because I know for us it's 50-50 because we have both. Yeah. But any of the adoption stuff or children having 19 kids, what that's like. Yeah.
I got to tell you, one of the joys of parenthood, as you find out, and anybody who's done it knows, is that, the total self-giving that it requires for you to raise these guys. And you never realize how great your parents are until you start becoming a parent. Right. And what they do and what they do after hours, so to speak, stay up and have drinks with friends, right? Like this.
Yeah.
But
very late.
But the opportunity to participate in his divine plan for creation, and to think that, this is how it's supposed to be, how it's always been, and how it's going to be. And just one more thing that I can share, with our Savior. And so I like it because the adoption part that we've been able to experience is so unique, but having also had biological kids, I feel like we have a lot of things to share with others that might say, hey, we can tell you from our experience that this is the same. Everything is the same, so to speak. And so when people say, oh, well, we would adopt, but we want to have kids of our own. And it's kind of like, okay, well, I can tell you from experience that they're my own. And it's not a play on words. I'm telling you, it is the reality of it. And so it's a gift. It's something that I feel like is blessed. And, adoption is spoken often in the scriptures. I'm not smart enough to know where, but I've heard it. And so, we started discerning the adoptive route after we had a couple of kids and had a couple of miscarriages. We were given a roadblock up front, had one very first adoption that we were going to participate in, fell through. And how many people after that happens, you get emotionally invested, financially invested, and all of a sudden you lose those things. How many people would turn their back and on that avenue of parenthood, never to return? And we didn't, for some reason, and it wasn't our doing; it was his doing, so to speak. And so
it was grace
to be then put into it in the manner that we've been able to be put into it, and enjoy the ability to physically and financially and spiritually care for these kids has been quite a humbling experience, to say the least. And,
yeah, it's funny you should say that. So we were married 10 and a half years before we adopted the kids. We always knew adoption would be from one of our first dates. We talked about adoption, and we always knew it would somehow play in. It just never worked. And then we were infertile for 10 and a half years, and we adopted. It ended up being 3 kids. There's a few episodes of the podcast coming out about the adoption. But then, 4 years after we adopted the 3 kids, then we conceived. So for us, it was a little backwards. We had always thought we would have biological kids and adopted kids, but we kind of assumed God wasn't giving us biological children, and we just pursued the adoption anyway because we were always going to. And then it's funny because along the way, when we adopted first, there were people who didn't know me. I'd be speaking somewhere and they'd be like, so you have adopted kids, do you guys think you'll have some of your own? And that's the same thing I would say. Well, I mean, I have 3 of my own. Well, you know what I mean? I mean, like, I know what you think you mean. Right. But I mean, if you look at their passport, they have my last name. I don't know how else more they're not my own, And I've, in my honest moments, I've told people, at least from my point of view, because it is very biblical, the idea of adoption, the adoptions seem or feel even aesthetically, they have more miracle to them than just biological, not just, but than biological children. There's a difference to it that is
think about it like our Catholic faith. Like there's a mystery to it. That's the word you're looking for. There's a mystery to it. It's kind of mysterious and at the same time so truthful and so perfect, if you will.
So how many of your kids are adopted?
Yeah, so we've had 5 biological children, live, and we've had Christy's had 6 miscarriages, I want to say. Anyway, and then so the rest were adopted. So that would put it at 14 kids adopted. But we only adopted 12 times because 2 sets of twins we adopted. So that's been a cool thing. That's been a blessing. To have, girl boy twins that are 10 years old and girl twins that are 5. It's pretty cool. And the younger twins who just started kindergarten, they were born at 1.5 pounds. They were little miracle babies. They were 26 weekers, born in Atlanta. And it was funny because when we were trying to discern whether or not these that if we were going to adopt again, Christy caught wind of these twins that were born in Atlanta that were 1.5 pounds that probably weren't going to even make it, but they were out there. And so, we back and forth talked about it. I don't know. It sounds like it might be emotionally and spiritually draining to do this. And, just went back and forth. And then finally I told Christy, I said, look, we seem to have a lot of trepidation about this. Why don't you just fly up there and walk into the NICU and put eyes on them and see if they're our babies or not. Yeah. And if they're our babies, great. If they're not, just come home. And she's like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I need to do. And so she got on a plane and I thought to myself at that point, what are the chances that she gets up there and is like, yeah, it's not ours. It's not. So she gets there and she immediately calls me and like, brilliant. These are our babies. You got to get up here and see them and meet them. And I just, from that point on, I loved them. And here they are. They're starting kindergarten now, and they're doing great. One of them's in a cast. She just broke her arm, and
you sent me the picture. That's
a purple cast. Yeah. So
the other day, because my wife's a doctor, so he sent me a picture of the X-ray, and it's just I can't even do it right. There's just like angles that shouldn't be there in the wrist. I felt
fell off her scooter, and
And I showed it to Jacelyn. She was like, "Oh snap, that's horrible." But
wow. So how old were you? Oh, go ahead.
No, I would say that was fun going to Atlanta and seeing them for the first time. And they were in the NICU for 3 months. And so Christy would fly back and forth and just sit next to their incubators. And, it eventually got to where she could touch them and eventually got to where she could hold them. And then when they came home, they were on oxygen tanks and tubes and monitors for another month while they were home. So it was touch and go for a while, but they're doing great.
You guys.
Yeah, it's fun.
That must have been a crazy month.
That's when I trained myself to exist without sleep because, there was just no sleep. It was just
because, I'm doing it. I have 3 kids, so I'm doing the math on that. I'm like, you got 0 hours of sleep a night and needed 29 hours a day to get everything in.
Yeah. And it was that was the one thing I did notice. The bad part of losing sleep is you lose sleep, but the good part is you gain daylight, so to speak. So you do stuff. So I could actually even watch some shows while I was feeding twins and changing diapers. And if you'd have been doing this podcast, it would have been perfect because it's like,
Well, you got to get on that. You got to adopt some more kids so we can do more episodes. COVID.
Right.
Oh man. Shoot, I had something. Kevin, do you have something? I don't want to interrupt.
I just wanted to cover it because you coughed. I didn't want.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to spread COVID. I should step to the side so it doesn't come through the mic. Because you guys are in Florida, and holy cow,
are we surging or something?
Yeah, I'm sure you are. You're always surging. If it's an election year, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right.
So, has COVID affected the hanging chads at all?
I don't know. I think it might. I think it might make them hang on a little bit harder. But
I'm pretty sure, depending on who wins, it'll affect it. Oh shoot! So I was going to ask. First of all, originally, where are you from?
Yeah, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Met my wife there. Both grew up there. She was in Catholic schools, and we grew up 3 miles apart, but I never met her till college because I was in public schools and she was in Catholic schools.
Okay.
So yeah, cool stuff. So 13 years of Catholic education, and she met me at Foxy's Health Club. Her dad wasn't too happy about that.
Awesome. That's awesome. Were you Catholic?
I was Catholic in that I was baptized in the Catholic Church, but never
Catholic in
finished
origin.
Never finished any of my formation or anything. And we dated for a few months, and when it became obvious that we were liking each other, she came to me and said, we can't see each other anymore. And I said, well, why not? She said, well, because you're not Catholic. And I said, well, what makes you think that? She said, well, you're always talking about Jimmy Swaggart, because I grew up in the shadows of Jimmy Swaggart's worldwide ministries. Yeah. And so my mom left the Catholic Church to marry my dad and dragged us around all these different churches. And so, but when she said, you're not Catholic, I said, I am too Catholic. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I was baptized Catholic. I have a baptismal certificate. And she's like, let's talk to my dad about this. And so we went and talked to her dad, and he said, let's go talk to Father Mike about this. And he said, you're doing RCIA. I said, that's all? One night a week for 6 months to a year, and then I get to hang out with her? Sure, I'm in. Sign me up. Whatever night you got.
So was it you who grew up across the street from where they were building?
Yes. We would ride our bikes on the dirt hills before they built the building, It was great.
How many men do you guys think have gotten their entry into the church because they really liked the woman and said, whatever, I'll just do whatever?
Yeah. I just go with most that weren't Catholic.
Most.
Yeah.
Most.
Are you kidding?
There's
there's so much power.
Han, and that's it.
Right.
So much power.
Yeah, I wish that it was me, recognizing in the mass.
Yes, intellectually.
Yeah, that's not it. I was like,
it means the Eucharist.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's not that. It's when I went to Bible college, we called that missionary dating. So she was missionary dating. That's good.
Exactly.
Okay, so you got married in what year?
Yeah, that was 97, and then we went on our honeymoon and moved to Orlando the week after our honeymoon and started our own practice. And so it was a tough time for both of us, because we were leaving our families back in Baton Rouge. Just felt called to move east. And when we did that, it was kind of scary and kind of fun all at the same time. There were a lot of emotions and stuff, but Christy is an accountant by education. So when we were on the beach for our honeymoon, she had a little bit of time to reflect on my prodigious debt accumulation. When she finally got a full grasp of what she had gotten herself into, she said, we have to go home now. We have to leave early. So we left our honeymoon a day early because of the urgency that she felt to get home and make money to pay some of this debt off before we get put in jail. And so we did it, and it worked out. She's been guiding me ever since.
That's awesome.
So,
gosh, that's beautiful.
Oh my gosh, there's a level of trust in God's plan and openness to life that is required for you and Christy as a Catholic family. But what has it been like for you over the years, just continuing to adopt more children and kind of understanding that it's time to adopt another kid, or knowing when it's time or when not? I think that the concept of being open to life is very foreign for many people.
Maybe just the concept itself.
Yeah. What has that been like for you and Christy?
Yeah. So, that concept was for Christy and I early on in our marriage, something that we, had figured out. We didn't know exactly what it was and what it looked like, but we knew right from wrong, and kind of shared in each other's knowledge of what's right and wrong. And ultimately, as we became blessed with kids, we also became blessed with energy and enthusiasm and the ability financially to do what it took to raise these kids. We felt like, so there was never this thought that maybe we should wait till we're prepared financially or spiritually or whatever. It was just like relationship, and we saw it as a blessing. And then once the adoption thing started, we like Nick had also talked about adoption early on in dating. We had a great friend, a mutual friend, who was adopted, and we kind of always thought that might be part of our plan. And so we looked to that after a couple of kids. We thought to ourselves that being open might mean actually pulling the trigger on that adoption thing. And so to do that for us meant just trust, because at first I had a lot of trepidation about doing it. My first question was when Christy actually talked about doing it was, wow, what will people think? What will our parents think? And she looked at me with a very confused look and was like, who cares? Where's your head? And I was just thinking, wow, you're right. This is not about how it looks to others. It's not about how it smells or sounds to others. This is about God entrusting a human soul to us. And who are we to say no to that? I mean, how can you say no to that? And so for us, it became really easy to decide when it's time to adopt or have another kid. When it's time to have another kid, you're pregnant, right? And so there it is. It happens. When it's time to adopt again, you look at yourself and say, often in tithing talk and things like that, we've had the good fortune to have a priest tell us, maybe you should look at it like, how much of God's money would he like you to keep, as opposed to how much of your money do you want to give God? Sure. And so I always kind of looked at it like, God, you've given me all this, these wonderful kids and all this. How much more are you going to allow me to do? How much more are you expecting of me? And based on my energy level and enthusiasm and love and the way I felt each and every day, I'm like, look, 9, 10. What's the difference in 9 and 10? I'm making a big pot of stew anyway. I put an extra pound of beans in. Let's do it again. Are you kidding? I'm already not going to the Bahamas this month because of 9 kids. So the 10th kid can't do anything but make it more fun around here. Let's That's just awesome. Do it. And then, you look up and there's like 15 of them and you're like, wow, okay, this really is cool.
And you're like, I'm really not going to the Bahamas.
Yeah, now we're definitely not going. And if we do, it's going to be on a real slow boat, right?
Yeah, with 15 other kids. That's awesome.
So, so for us, we kept getting signals from each other and from God that, I got some more. I got some more. I'm not done. I got some game. Let's go.
What has been I don't know off the top of your head, well, of course you can, but like the spread between like when adoptions happened and when biological happened?
Oh yeah. So, birth, starting at early marriage, birth, miscarriage, adoption, birth, adoption, adoption, miscarriage, adoption. So it just it got all mixed up. And, I remember going to work often with a lack of sleep and a lack of clarity and being like, I don't know, 7 kids, I think. Your parent would ask, how many kids you got now? I think a lot of people came in for their checkup just to see if we had another kid. And, so they kept on their regular schedule.
Yeah, 6 months. Can they do it? Can they get it in 6 months? Not biologically, but they could do it.
Right. Lots of sets of what we call, Irish twins, right? Where they're either 9 months apart or 7 months apart. That's even better.
I didn't know that. Okay. So I didn't know that existed, the idea of Irish twins. We had Hudson, which is our first biological child, in 2017 in February. And I don't know when it was, maybe it was 9. It was about 10 or 11 months in. I was talking to a friend of mine who has a ton of kids. Leah Jacobson, if you ever heard her, she's a pro-life speaker. They have a ton of kids. I think they have 8 at this point, but she was like, well, you got to watch out for Irish twins. And I remember texting being like, what's this? I'm Irish, but what? Yeah. She goes, no. Like you can have them 10 months apart. And I was like, wait, what now? Explain. And, okay. I'm okay. Okay. I'm going to be holy. But I was like, what? This exists? I didn't know that it happened. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And at that point you said, well, that sounds good. Let's do that. Right.
Yeah.
So
I think
a lifestyle.
For us, after the first Davey, he moved in when he was 16 months, and he was enough chaos that I was like, after that one, what's anymore? Like we could adopt 2, 10, it doesn't matter. After that first one, when you lose your mind a little bit and you go like that good kind of crazy and you just kind of resign yourself to all the chaos and everything God brings, and you're like, yeah, you can just send as many as you want, I suppose,
Yeah, I'll do it. Do with me what you will, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Make it happen.
Though you slay me.
Right.
But no, that's awesome. All right. So, Kevin, do you have anything?
I've Just nope.
Okay. Nope. No. What's that?
I was just saying, being with you guys is pretty fantastic. This is a great concept.
First of all, we're taking you so deep past your bedtime right now.
No. Actually, this is interesting because when I told Christy about it, she looked at me. She's like, "Whew, they picked the right one," because I wouldn't do it that late, because I've always been kind of the late nighter. I can do that kind of thing and still get up.
Good.
But no problem. I love it. It's good stuff.
So is that the room I slept in?
This is the room you slept in, and I was going to say it can get cold.
No, it was perfect. It was so that was the neat part. So when we were trying to formulate the show, I was like, man, I've traveled all over the place. I've just stayed on so many people's couches and floors, and I've met just so many. And that's when it all happens, is like these late night talks where I was in your kitchen, and I didn't meet a third of your kids, I think.
Right.
I don't know, maybe there were 4 or 5 of them there that night. Yeah. But just to get to stay up late and talk has been the most amazing for me. Yeah. To get to meet people like you. So yeah.
Well, it's an honor for me
when you
came to speak, and look, amazing speaking that night. You did a great job. That was fantastic. Knocked it out of the park. I appreciated your time.
I wish you could come back. And that's not like a, come back. It's no, I can't come back. So
yeah.
But so on you guys on your end then, so first of all, as a couple, do you guys have anything coming down the pike? You guys pregnant? You adopted any kids?
I don't know if I don't think we're pregnant. I mean, that's always the question, but I don't think so.
Okay.
But as far as adoption goes, I think, I never say never, just because I've thought for a long time that, wow, we'll do this once or twice or 12 times or what have you. But, we're here, we're doing our thing. But at 51, God's certainly given me signs that it's a little different than it was 10 years ago, and a lot different than it was 20 years ago as far as, capabilities and all that. It's interesting though, because that humbleness that grows in you when now you have, big strapping teenagers around, that you're like, you carry that in. I mean, not just because I'm trying to teach you a lesson, but because you can actually carry it in, and I can't now. And so I actually, have come to this realization only very recently that there's going to be some physical limitations down the road that are part of the natural process of aging that I'm not willing to look too closely at yet. But
sure.
We've been able to hide from it so far, so good. Aside from these cheaters, everything else has been good physically. So.
Yeah. I just got these like 6 weeks ago, and the eye doctor was like, yeah, a normal person would have come in a decade ago with your prescription. And I was like, thanks for pegging that I'm not a normal person. That was nice of you. Right off the bat.
You were so good at squinting, Nick.
Yeah, I was so good. Oh gosh, there was something that you said. Kevin, do you have anything that you just Nope,
Louisiana just got another hurricane, so that was probably their 4th or 5th this year. So I've talked to some of my friends and relatives down there. Things seem to be passing pretty quickly this time, but they still have got so much damage from these previous storms. And what a year! Wow.
How do they come out of that? How do people get through that? And homes and business owners, and what do you do? Yeah,
we've had several shutdowns here of minimal time. What's amazing is that you watch the country respond. And when it's a pretty awesome sight. We had 2 or 3 hurricanes in a row one year. Our office was shut down several times. But when you are driving into work past debris and things like that, and you see a line of electric trucks from different states, from Minnesota and Michigan and all that, just forming a caravan coming down to your area and putting lines up that would normally take your local power company 3 weeks to manage, and they're doing it in 12 hours. They're putting 100,000 people back in power every 12. You just go, wow, this is really the best of humanity. I mean, you look at that and go, these people are leaving their families, their wives, their kids, and trucking down here to get us back up and going, so that instead of being out of business for 3 weeks, I'm out of business for 3 days. And so that's kind of how you do it. You watch humanity work and obviously watch God work through their hands.
Wow. And we were talking about that with the last episode with Father Mike. We were talking about how some people, I always joke with my wife, like, every cloud has a crap lining, because sometimes we can feel that way. We can just look at this crap lining. But like, if you pause and look at actual humanity, not what you see on any media whatsoever, either side of the spectrum, like if you just shut that off and like you said, drive to work and look at what humanity is doing. Like there is so much like fundamental intrinsic good that people are doing for each other. There's so much good out there because we're still here as a human race. I mean, obviously God is present and God is working and whatnot, but he's working in those moments where you have lines of trucks from different states who they're moved by compassion. And that's, a response to the Holy Spirit, whether they know it or not. Like you see humanity everywhere actually being like starting to live up or trying to live up to that potential that God made them for. So
and it just doesn't sell. So it doesn't get on media outlets. And, with the opportunity to interact with a lot of people at work every day, I get to see that too. And so when I go in and I feel like maybe I'm having a bad day, and then I have a mom that's got 2 autistic teenagers and she's smiling and having a great day, I'm just thinking, wow, how bad do I feel now that I was upset that my totally normal 9-year-old, forgot their math book or whatever. And so I look to my patients often for strength, and I get it every single day. I find a reason to have hope in humanity, like you said, to see the Holy Spirit working through them and to see the amazing things that they're doing in their vocation, whether it's professional or at home or even in a setting in church or what have you. It's just a beautiful thing to interact with. And it's just not on TV, but it's happening all around you. So open your eyes and look for it. Right.
Yeah. Amen. Well, Troy, holy cow. I'm wishing this was a Joe Rogan 2-hour episode, but we'll have, I don't know if they go forever and they're all engaging. So, I guess I would say first, thank you for being on the show. This isn't like scratching the surface. This is nothing. This is the first few minutes of a conversation, but, I would say that if you are up for it, a couple months down the road. So what we're doing is we have a good backlog of interviews, but a few months down the road, it'd be great to have you on where we could maybe just start where we picked off or start up where we
left off.
Pick up where we left off. And just kind of have you on again and make sure you've gotten enough rest because you're of advanced age at this point.
Right. But older folks don't need to sleep as much, right? Because there's no muscle mass being generated at night as I sleep any longer. So.
That's great. Yeah, you only need 4 hours of sleep, right? You're old, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for having me, for sure.
It's been good. So, as we always do, if you are up for it, we usually have our guest make some form of toast. It can be any kind of toast. Pause.
Serious
Kevin,
or silly or anything in between.
Right.
Kevin, do you have any questions before the toast?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So Troy King of Orlando, Florida, or not Orlando, a suburb of Orlando, Florida. Would you care to make a toast?
I propose a toast this evening to our wonderful hosts, Nick and Kevin. We appreciate what you're doing. We thank you most of all for sharing your faith and your spirituality with all of us out in podcast land. For all the people who just get off the couch and do what you're doing, they just start making themselves available to others and sharing their knowledge of their faith with it and being an incredible witness. To you, I raise my glass. Cheers.
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 And again, I'll show you the label.
Your daughter's favorite.
It is indeed. God bless you guys.
You too. Thanks for coming on the
show.
You
as well. Thanks so much, Troy.
Excellent. Take care. If you need anything, let me know.